barani Afrika.
Hello, I'm Managing Editor Vincent McCory in for Esther Gidui. Welcome to Africa 54, and here's what's coming up. As fighting between Israel and the terrorist groups Hamas and Hezbollah rages and peace deals and ceasefires look improbable, the next U.S. president is likely to inherit a Middle East crisis. Millions of first-time voters, among them immigrants of African descent, will be eligible to vote in November's U.S. election. We'll meet one of the new citizen voters from the state of Virginia. And in our entertainment report, Music Time in Africa host Heather Maxwell has a conversation with Mozambican jazzman Moreira Chonguica. All this and much more in today's Africa 54. We begin our broadcast in the Middle East, where Lebanon has received a shipment of medical supplies on Friday amid a heightened escalating conflict between Israel and Hezbollah. The aid provided by the World Health Organization and the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees arrived a day after WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said his organization would not be able to deliver the shipment due to flight restrictions. Now, more medical aid shipments are expected to arrive in the coming days. At least 28 on-duty medics have been killed in the past 24 hours in Lebanon, where Israel has launched airstrikes and sent troops to fight Hezbollah, according to Ghebreyesus. The war sparked by Hamas' terror attack on Israel in October 2023 has grown into a raging conflict that threatens to engulf the Middle East. The warring parties are rebuffing peace deals and blowing through pauses and ceasefires, and the next U.S. president will likely inherit the crisis. VOA's Anita Powell reports from Washington.
There is nothing to celebrate as this conflict nears its one-year anniversary. Violence in the Mideast has grown considerably in that time, beyond Israel, where it started October 7th, when Hamas militants launched their surprise attack and snatched over 250 hostages, into Gaza, which for months has endured Israeli bombardments and ground operations, and then into Lebanon, where Israel recently struck at the Hezbollah militant group with airstrikes that killed its leader, provoking this fiery response from the militant group's main backer, Iran. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan sought to soothe nerves this week after the latest Iranian attack.
Obviously, this is a significant escalation by Iran, a significant event, and it is equally significant that we were able to step up with Israel and create a situation in which no one was killed in this attack in Israel, so far as we know at this time.
Analysts say it's not clear how this ends.
There's no clear indication that either the Israelis or Hamas is looking for an end. They both seem to be able and willing to carry this on for quite some time to come.
Diplomatic pressure is intensifying as more than 140 countries recognize Palestine as a state, including Ireland, Norway, and Spain, which did so this year. As this conflict twists and turns, analysts point to reasons the clashes continue. One factor, Israel's effort to wipe out Hamas and Hezbollah, is not unwelcome among some Arab leaders.
It's hard for me to believe that the Saudis, the Emiratis, the Bahrainis, and others don't believe that a region without Hezbollah, without Hamas, or a much diminished Hamas, a much diminished Hezbollah, is a better region.
At the same time, analysts say the Hamas attack emboldened other Islamist groups like Somalia's al-Shabaab or offshoots of Islamic State groups and al-Qaeda.
What has happened as we look at the trajectory of events that have happened since the brutal and horrific attacks of October 7th is that each one of these groups have utilized the ecosystem for their purposes.
What doesn't appear to have changed is President Joe Biden's stance on Israel. The U.S. is Israel's largest backer, both militarily and diplomatically. Under Biden's command, U.S. forces played key roles in helping Israel repel 2 Iranian ballistic missile strikes. Here he is, days after October 7th.
We must be crystal clear. We stand with Israel.
And this week.
Make no mistake, the United States is fully supportive of Israel.
As this grim anniversary looms, two things are crystal clear. This conflict won't end soon. Biden's term will. Anita Powell, VOA News, Washington.
Millions of first-time voters will be considering the choices and casting a ballot in the U.S. election this November. Among the new potential voters will be an estimated 3.5 million new citizens naturalized since 2020. It's a sizable voting bloc that could play a significant role in evenly divided states. Jeff Swikert introduces us to one new citizen voter from the state of Virginia.
A special July 4th celebration for 89-year-old Sylvina Goods. Today, along with many others from around the globe, she will become an American citizen in a ceremony on the grounds of Mount Vernon, the colonial home of George Washington, the first president of the United States.
I was neither Portuguese nor American since I have been living here for so many years. So why not be an American citizen? So now my status is settled.
That I will perform work.
Sylvina left her native Portugal almost 20 years ago for the U.S. Like most Americans, she has been following developments in the U.S. presidential election and will be voting for the first time this November.
I follow politics on radio and TV, and I follow the debates. In fact, I followed the last one on Univision. For me, it is important because I learn what they think about their ideas and what they would do.
Iran, Ireland.
As a new U.S. citizen, she feels empathy for those who want to come to the United States.
I think they should come, respecting the laws of the country and the people who live here, so they should come legally.
Sylvina is a Catholic, but when it comes to abortion, she believes in a woman's right to choose.
I think there should be respect for oneself, but sometimes it is necessary because men sometimes don't respect women. There should be more respect for women, but there isn't. So abortion exists, and exists all over the world.
In Portugal, she worked in the social services arena and believes a strong social safety net is important in any country.
Above all, social assistance is important for people of the lower class, especially the ones who have a lot of kids.
When we first spoke with her in July, her impression of former President Trump was that he's too impulsive. She thought President Biden showed calmness and strength. Now that Vice President Harris has entered the race, she thinks she has the profile to be president. She told us she's neither flashy or rude and will be voting for her this November. Other first-time voters we've spoken to intend to vote for Trump, believing he is the right man for the job with the decisive leadership style they feel is necessary for the country. Today, politics is set aside as she celebrates her new citizenship with her family. Jeff Swikert, VOA News, Mount Vernon, Virginia.
The war in Sudan has almost destroyed the health sector, while pharmaceutical manufacturing has completely stopped and the country relies on imported medicines. VOA's Paul Dion has more in this report that was sent to us by a journalist in Port Sudan in Sudan.
The Sudanese people are living in dire conditions due to the ongoing conflict since April last year. The war has destroyed infrastructure, including the health sector, and more than 70% of health facilities in conflict-affected areas in Sudan are either inoperable or closed, according to the IRC. Recently, the Sudanese Minister of Health announced that pharmaceutical manufacturing has stopped in the country. The halt in medicine manufacturing and the total reliance on imports have led to partial shortages of large numbers of life-saving drugs, and patients with chronic diseases are suffering from a shortage of regular drugs and the high prices.
Great efforts have been made in the past period by the National Council for Drugs and Poisons in coordination with importing companies. You all know that we have lost all the medicine factories in the country. So imports were facilitated by companies due to their relationship with medicine manufacturers outside Sudan. The import rate increased from $3 to $20 million per month.
Mona Sadiq, a cancer patient who is displaced from Al Jazeera state after the war reached it, ran out of her dose of medicine she was taking regularly and came to Port Sudan to continue her treatment.
In Al Jazeera state before the war, we did not have a problem finding medicines. There were many hospitals to receive doses, but after the war, we lost all treatment centers in Al Jazeera state. And there are many residents of villages and cities who have been displaced, and other citizens are dying due to lack of treatment.
The cost of importing medicine is $20 million per month, according to the Minister of Health, at a time when Sudanese currency is facing a high record of collapse against the dollar, which has made medicine prices very high. The citizens are suffering from expensive costs of treatment as well as pharmacy owners. The health conditions experienced by Sudanese affected by the war make life difficult for them, with displacement, epidemics, and high prices of medicine in light of the fact that there are large areas of the country to which the authorities are unable to deliver medicine shipments.
After the war, Sudanese medicine is now manufactured in India, so it will not be at the same old prices. As for imported medicine, its prices are expensive for the citizens, and many will not be able to buy it. Likewise, the prices of imported milk have reached high amounts, so Sudanese citizens will not be able to obtain it.
Despite the support received by the Ministry of Health from friendly countries, the Sudanese citizen is still in dire need of mitigating the effects of the war on the health sector. For our reporter in Port Sudan, I am Paul Ndiho, VOA News, Washington.
Tunisia holds presidential elections on Sunday that are likely to give incumbent Kais Saied another term in office, with his main rivals jailed, disqualified, or otherwise sidelined from the race. Is this the end of Tunisia's fragile democracy, or just another chapter on a rocky road since its 2011 revolution? Alyssa Bryant reports.
Tunisians voting for change 5 years ago faced plenty of choices. More than 24 candidates ran in the 2019 presidential race. Political newcomer Kais Saied won the runoff with 73% of the vote. He promised to root out corruption and give power back to the people. Things are very different this time around. Tunisia's election commission, whose members were appointed by Saied, approved just 3 candidates for Sunday's presidential vote. One was considered close to the president. Another is sentenced to 12 years in jail. The third is Kais Saied.
Is popular, still popular. It's not true saying that everybody wants to get rid of him. But in middle classes and high classes of that stuff, he's not popular at all.
As president, Saied has rewritten the constitution, dissolved parliament, and ushered in new legislative bodies with limited powers. Voter participation was low on elections for each of Saied's changes. Just over 11% of Tunisians turned out for the legislative votes. These changes took place after Saied seized wide-reaching powers in 2021. Supporters praise Saied for cleaning up corruption and political gridlock. Some back his populist nationalist rhetoric and efforts to move beyond pro-Western alliances. Critics say the president is taking the country back to pre-revolution days of fear and authoritarian rule, and failing to deliver on jobs and the economy. They point to dozens of political rivals, journalists, and rights activists who have been targeted or jailed in recent years.
Kais Saied's popularity has dropped considerably. That's why he's doing everything to lock up the political process. Because if he guarantees even the minimum of free expression, he very likely risks losing.
Most observers believe Sayed will win a second term. His opponents promise to carry on their fight.
People are going to contest his legitimacy. A peaceful political resistance will gain ground, and things won't last long for Kais Saied.
Voter turnout on Sunday may determine how big a mandate or resistance Sayed will have moving forward. Lisa Bryant, VOA News.
In the heart of Tunis, a noticeable shift in the political atmosphere is evident as Tunisia approaches its 2024 presidential election. 5 years ago, the streets were alive with the vibrant energy of democracy as 15 candidates, including Kais Saied, engaged in televised debates watched by millions. However, opinions on the current political climate are divided. While some see the lack of visible campaigning as a sign of democratic regression, others view it as a positive development. Now, for more perspective on the election, joining me live via Skype from Casablanca, Morocco, is William Lawrence, North Africa Director, U.S.-Arab Relations, and also a former U.S. diplomat in Tunisia. Welcome to Africa 54, Lawrence.
Nice to be with you.
Now, you see, people have been watching Tunisia because it was the birthplace of the Arab Spring. And now there are mixed feelings. What's going on from your assessment? Is democracy growing as the process that began way back in 2011, or is it regressing?
It's in severe regression. If you can hear me, it's very clear that the authoritarian tendencies of the government that existed before the Jasmine Revolution of 2011 are worse now. As all the reporting says, including by Mikhail Ayari, the expert you just had on before me, it's as bad or worse than during the Ben Ali days and the Bourguiba days after independence. Because Kais Saied was dropping in the polls, the private polls, there was a further crackdown where they threw 4 of the unapproved presidential candidates and 1 of the approved presidential candidates in jail and stifled political debate and controlled the media. Was increased right before the election. So the outcome is not in very much doubt. But as your setup piece said, it's very important what the turnout is. The turnout we had for the presidential, for the parliamentary elections a year ago and at the referendum before that on the Constitution were respectively 20 and 11%, some of the lowest in the history of democracies. If the turnout's significantly higher on Sunday, that means something. If the election is free and fair, but we just don't know what the turnout will be. Yep.
Now, what has been his standing with the West, even the United States, especially given that there was so much hope in Tunisia?
Very poor. The U.S. has cut aid considerably to Tunisia. There is a bit of a longer leash, if I can call it that, a longer, more leeway from the Europeans because he controls in many degrees some of the illegal migration and the issues around that as it relates to Europe. So, for example, Italy's been supporting him more than other European countries because they're front-facing on the migration issue. And yet, Kais Saied, by unaligning himself with the West, has tried to turn to Russia and China and Gulf countries and others to try to make up what's missing economically for Tunisia and hasn't gotten much. Right now, the salaries of public officials are being underwritten by the Algerian government. The state is doing very poorly in Tunisia financially.
Well, thank you very much, William. We'll catch up with you, and you'll be in Tunisia, actually, over the weekend. So William Lawrence is the North Africa Director, U.S. Arab Relations, and former U.S. diplomat in Tunisia. We're excited to hear what you think about Africa 54 and all our VOA Africa programs on our website at voaafrica.com. Still to come, Heather Maxwell interviews Mozambican jazzman Moreira Chonguica. We'll be right back.
The United States Agency for International Development reveals that malnutrition remains a significant challenge in Nigeria, with severe acute malnutrition impacting 3.6 million children and contributing to 50% of all deaths among children under 5 years old. This week on Our Voices, we'll talk with the talented Nigerian Nollywood actress Chioma Chukwuka Apota, the USAID Goodwill Ambassador for Nutrition. She'll talk about her journey and efforts on fighting malnutrition during the conversation each week, right here on Our Voices.
You're watching VOA's Red Carpet. My name is Jackson Vunganyi. Thank you so much for joining us each week. Right here on Red Carpet, we bring you the latest in...
In other news, the World Health Organization is listing the first Mpox in vitro diagnostic under its emergency use listing procedure. That's an important step in improving global access to Mpox testing. The approval for emergency use of the in vitro diagnostic manufactured by Abbott Molecular is pivotal in expanding diagnostic capacity in countries facing Mpox outbreaks. The World Health Organization is launching a global plan to address the growing threat of dengue and other deadly arboviruses, which are affecting millions of people worldwide and is putting billions more at risk. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus says the rapid spread of dengue and other arboviral diseases in recent years is an alarming trend. Well, it's time for our entertainment reports, and joining us now is Heather Maxwell. She's host of VOA's Music Time in Africa radio program, with a lively interview with a jazz great. Hello, Heather.
Hi, Vincent. Hello, everyone. Well, we are about to get really jazzy this weekend with the newly crowned Mozambican Knight of Arts and Letters from the French government. This interview was recorded September 26th. Let's watch. Moreira Chonguica, how are you? Welcome to Voice of America.
Muito obrigado. I'm happy to be here, and thanks for inviting me.
I understand a big congratulations is in order. Your recent award from the French government.
Oui.
What is it exactly, and how does that affect you? How do you feel about it?
Order of Merit for Arts and Letters, no?
The Knight.
The Knight.
Knight of Arts. Knight. What is the official? I have written.
Je suis chevalier.
Chevalier. Knights of the Order of Arts and Letters.
Yeah. What it means for me.
Yeah.
It means a lot, not just for me, because at a certain stage in my life, coming from Mozambique, from Maputo, playing the saxophone, which is not a Mozambican or an African instrument. And by the way, this is a French saxophone, Selmer, you know, Hervé Selmer.
I see.
You know, and being recognized not just by a brand, but by a government, you know, of a non-speaking Portuguese country.
Right.
Having this recognition from the government of France for the contribution of the work we are doing, I feel very humble and honored. It's something to go back home in those dark days, because there's good and there's bad days, and look at your family and say, hey, not everything's bad, you know what I'm saying?
You're a jazz musician. You've got your saxophone with you, the Selmer.
This is Selmer. I'm a brand ambassador for Selmer in Paris. Yeah, this is French. This is proper.
Okay. You've been playing now for many years.
Yeah.
What does your saxophone sound like? Can you play us a riff or a sound that, if people know the saxophone as an instrument and they listen to a lot of sax music, they'll go, aha, that's Moreira.
Oh my God, that's a good one. Okay. Okay, good. This is my test. Okay.
Wow, I like that. Now, you just mentioned the Maputo and where you grew up. Do you have can you play a melody from that region, a local melody on the sax?
That's a good question. There is this saxophone player from Mozambique that I've never met, I've never seen. It's like, his name is Billy Cooker, right? Okay. Like, I grew up listening to his melodies, you know, and there's this song that we look for the title. No one knew what the title is, but the song, so let me play this song, and it's based on a rhythm from the south of Mozambique called Marabenta, very popular.
Marabenta.
You can actually feel that.
Yes, I love it. I wish I could hear the whole ensemble with percussion.
With the band, percussion, drums, and a bit of bass.
Oh, but that's pretty.
Yeah.
That's very pretty.
This song was written by Billy Cooker. Honestly speaking, I never met him.
Thank you so much. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you talking and playing here on The Voice of America, right here with me.
Heather, thank you. Thank you so much. You know a lot about our music. I really thank you for that. Thank you.
And that's it for entertainment this week. Be sure to watch and listen to more of this interview on my radio show and YouTube channel. Just search for Music Time in Africa. Vincent, back to you.
Well, that was awesome, Heather. Thank you very much. Be sure to join Heather Maxwell's entertainment reports right here on Africa 54. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, have a great weekend.